Hey everybody, it's the Mad Master here. I'm doing a video review while I'm driving in traffic, and hopefully there'll be no cops behind me, of the final episode of Supernatural. So, I've been a Supernatural fan for quite a while. It's kind of a funny story. My friend gave me a few DVD box sets. I don't know if he had them extra or something for Christmas once. I was like, oh, Supernatural, that's CW, like, good-looking guy, prep guys, fuck that shit, man. There's fucking slick-ass, stupid bullshit like the modern horror movies. But I was bored one day in 2010, late 2010. I was like, I was maybe sick, actually. Ironically enough, not with the virus! I was sick one time. And I started watching it, and I was like, I got hooked. And then I didn't I stopped watching after season 5, and then I got into season 7, 6, and then I watched season 7 later, like 2012, 2013. I was like, no, it's Jump the Shark, Leviathan story. And then more recently, I've always wanted a Chevy Impala since I started watching that show. But more recently, I started watching some of the later seasons. I liked season 7. I did not like 8 or 9, I believe it was. And I skipped ahead because I do that a lot. And watched, when they came back from the quarantine, whatever you want to fucking call it, lockdown. I'll just call it the lockdowns. They started filming more episodes. I watched some of the final episodes because it was the final fucking end of the series. So this will have spoilers and shit, but that's fine. There were 2 episodes. There was one that was called the season finale, and one was called the series finale. And this one's more about the series finale. Not the season finale. The season finale, I think, should have been the series finale done. If they would have done it better. I thought the series finale was kind of fucking bad, honestly. Like, so the problem I have with the season finale, or the series finale, I should say, not the season finale. The series finale was very anticlimactic. You had, and this is where, spoiler alert, Dean died essentially from like a rusty nail or some shit in his back, or some rivet or something that a vampire had pushed him into. Now, in the season finale, episode 19, Jack had become God and basically like reversed a lot of the shit that happened with Chuck and stuff. So I had thought maybe that was like there would be some new threat and then be a cliffhanger after that, after the final episode. But no, they just go back. Oh, we're gonna go back to the original series kind of thing, Monster of the Week, with some lame vampires that dressed up like the Crimson Skull or whatever, fucking, with one person that was from season 1 or 2 or something that was with a head vampire or some shit. And then Dean gets killed, and then Sam grows old and has a kid and doesn't show his wife, and then nothing happens. Dean goes to heaven and then has the Impala, and fucking, then finally Sam dies of old age, goes to heaven, and looks exactly the same as he did in the as the young Sam. Well, not super young Sam, but now Jared Padalecki. Oh, people are going there. Oh, cool, good plan. I was just noticing people go to a restaurant. I'm like very happy. I smile when I see that. Because of the virus. So, anyways, I thought that the series finale was okay and not terrible. The season finale, on the other hand, was fucking bad. I'm sorry, man. I mean, people talk about Game of Thrones. I haven't watched Game of Thrones that much, so I didn't really know about but I heard the controversy about the series finale. This was very anticlimactic, and I had some emotion. There was some good parts of it, For one, I think they could retcon it. Get me over here. Did I make it? I made it in traffic. They could retcon it because Sam, when he's like going through this getting older and older, his son, by the way, has one of the anti-demon possession tattoos. His son looked way too young for how old Sam was supposed to be. And I know, like, the character probably is around 40 or, in his early 40s. So having a kid, he would be way older when the kid was an adult, obviously. So maybe it makes sense. Like me, when I have kids, I'll be much older as the kid is an adult. So the problem with that was, like, I felt like Sam just didn't give a fuck. Like the scenes with him as raising his kid, he's had this weird look on his face, and like the acting, it was like he was just going through the motions. Like, he wasn't like smiling that much, and he just had this weird thing. So I have a little theory about that, and it's just a way that they could retcon it. Because, okay, so it ended. There were some good emotional moments between the two characters. Probably two actors were really crying because it was the end. And COVID caused them to not film the episode the way they wanted it to, but it was going to be close to it anyway. It's just like, Heaven was okay because Chuck was gone, and Jack fixed Heaven to be actually more like Heaven, less like a fucking call center or whatever the fuck it was in those other seasons. So that was one thing that I liked about it. And I liked how he was driving the Carry On Wayward Son, which they remixed like in this weird way, but by Kansas. And then, it was the highway he was going, or not a highway, this road in the forest and like the Pacific Northwest, obviously, where it's filmed. Dean was driving the Impala and just driving around, having fun, and time passes differently in Heaven, I guess, even though that kind of is a plot hole because it doesn't in the series earlier necessarily. So he's driving, and Sam's getting older and older and finally dies, blah, blah, blah. And that's the end. They're both in heaven together with Bobby and all this shit. So my problem with this whole thing is that I get this feeling like I just thought it was lame. It just wasn't a good send-off. I just think it was anticlimactic and just like half-ass, and just like, it wasn't right. It just didn't feel right. The Dean stuff in Heaven was kind of cool with Carry On Wayward Son and how they timed it with Sam, growing old and stuff. Like him driving, like the time would pass, or whatever. The worst part, yeah, it's just the way that he died. Dean died, and then just Sam died. Sam got to be normal, blah, blah, whatever. But the problem I had is that it just didn't make sense with, it's like he stops being a hunter at some point because it's a very fast sequence. It's just the way it was filmed, like just the timing of everything. It just like squished all this shit together and just wasn't right. To me, it wasn't right. The acting was good, except for when Sam is getting older and older. It just doesn't make sense. Like his acting wasn't very good. So there's a cop behind me. Fuck. Okay. Well, are they going behind me? Nope. They crossed. Okay. Thank God. I was scared of a cop. So my whole problem with that sequence is, his acting was weird, and he was just acting kind of glum. The actor, Jared Padalecki. And this is my theory. This is a little fan fiction fan theory. I'm trying to say. A djinn got to both of them in the episode. A djinn, and is holding them, is giving them this vision, right? And the djinn is like, this is how they could twist it, because Jensen Ackles said that there could be more supernatural in the future. The djinn got him, and they're living this vision mutually, and it's not the end. It's like a couple minutes. The djinn got him, just like in the early series where there were several things where the djinn got one of them, and then they were living this different life for a while, and it was Chuck's revenge that he like somehow had this like like emergency thing that he did. Monsters are gone from the planet, except for like Chuck had some gin left over, and then something gets reset or something, and with Jack or some shit, Chuck had some like fucking thing. Wait a second, am I still being filmed? I hope so. Okay, there was just some software update shit. Okay, so that's my thought on the last episode of Supernatural. Sorry how rambling it got. I think it could have been a lot better. I would have killed. Like, what would I have done better about this episode? Well, I would have made it more realistic. Like, not realistic, but just like this is some type of final battle. They should have made the series finale the season finale. My God, this could have been like a cliffhanger. Dean dies and becomes an angel, and then helps Jack. You know, they could have reversed these two, refilmed some of the scenes. Gene dies, helps Jack. Sam gets to fucking be normal, but then the final episode, I don't know, they could have they could have done a lot more. It would have involved like 4 or 5 scenes being filmed that were different in both episodes, and they could have put the series finale before the season finale and fucking made it more logically and narratively make sense. But Supernatural is a mixed bag when it comes to narratives and plot holes and everything. So overall, I give it a D+ for some of the acting. The previous episode, I give like a C+, and I think that could have been a better series finale. That's all.